everything was late. Portugal, it's a beautiful country, but it's not like Germany. Not everything runs on time.
Okay.
So we woke
With
up.
a Southern European
Yeah,
attitude.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. And we woke up really early, so we didn't get any sleep to be here. We flew to Brussels, and the flights were late. So we were like, will we make it? Will we have time to go on stage? Will it sound everything like shit? Will it be chaos? But when we went on stage, it was like a magical moment. People were, it was quite crowded already for 2:30, which is such a obscene early hour, for a band that the night is our element. It's the element of our music. We call MOONSPELL. So
That's what I said too.
it's a bit weird sometimes, but I think the feeling and the warm welcoming of the people just made it up. For anything that was lacking in atmosphere, and it sounded great from the stage. It looked great, a great stage with all this decoration and everything. So I think we had a blast, definitely, and it was good because we were afraid of coming here with no sleeping, no playing. Sometimes it happens to festivals. You talk with other bands, and it's chaotic. Everybody's on vacations with all their families, and I'm going on vacation with my family as well. But sometimes it's just in our way. We just want to go and play the festivals and work. So I was glad to see that many people, and people really into MOONSPELL. Of course, we would like to play it for long, because we love to play live for 90 minutes, 100 minutes. But I think it was great, and it wasn't just a warm-up gig for the other bands. We really had fans. We just made the signing session, and they had to kick us out because there were so many people still there.
Okay.
So I'm very happy with the Alcatraz, definitely.
Good. You also have a new album out, Extinct.
Yeah.
Can I say that your music has become a little more accessible compared to the early years?
Well, maybe. I mean, what we see in metal is that bands are going also more extreme. People are listening to more extreme music, and there's many bands that were very extreme that are enjoying a lot of success. While MOONSPELL has always been about the songs, and I think that with Extinct we really focused on making songs that sounded good. With no shame, with no pun intended. We just wanted to make songs that were catchy and that were emotional in a way. And we were also not afraid, but curious to see if people would, just bash us off trying to make a commercial album or whatever. But the songs are quite beautiful, and they're quite redemptive in a way. So it doesn't really apply that we are trying to go to play on the radio or on the pop radio. It's something that there's many bands that do a kind of pop metal, like we did Temptation or Nightwish or Delane. But with MOONSPELL, it's still dark in a way, and it's dark on the way of the old Gothic metal bands, a scene we know very well, especially since we did the Irreligious back in '96. So I think, all in all, the album is a little bit more rock and roll than the previous albums that were more metallic oriented. This one has a little bit more of a flirt, still with metal, but more with rock and Gothic music. So I mean, you never know what the crowd will say or expect. But I think people actually enjoyed this move, and people actually were keen in having a more melodic MOONSPELL than us just doing, another Alpha Noir or another Night Eternal, which are albums we love, and they, they have the spirit of their time. But with us, music is always an open book. We never know what we're going to sound next album. We don't plan it like this. I don't know if metal is like this. Sometimes I listen to bands and it seems like everything is very programmed in a way. With everything, with us, it's very chaotic. Because it comes from the heart, so you never know where your heart is. Extinct was not an album that we needed to do for any other reason than to tell a story, to tell what was happening with us. Like the old school of way of making music. You have a problem, you have a situation, you go in the studio and you deal with it by making music. It's not to go on tour or whatever, because we still have a lot of stuff to do with Alpha Noir, but we put everything on hold because our creative time the bell was ringing, and I think that's what separates bands from businessmen. You know, sometimes the labels say, okay, in 2017 you have to make another album. We say, well, let's see if we are inspired to do so, we will do so. But if not, we can even do earlier, or we can even not do it at all. You know, that's the way we are. Our position into music has always been like this. Yeah.
There's one song that pops out on the album, and that is La Baphomet. It's not only sung in French, but it has also a bit of cabaret feel about it. Well, where does it come from?
Well, it was a crazy idea that started off with our bass player Iris. That he had this weird dream that he was dying, and he has this Mozart moment. So he wrote his own requiem. So he wrote a little bit of the La Baphomet to start with. And when I listened to it, I imagined it, as a funeral parade. Then we've been into New Orleans a couple of times with the band, and I imagined using the French, because the Cajun culture and the Vodou culture use French as well as their language, and it got very mystical. But it was just an experiment, you know. It's a very different song, but I think it's the perfect song to end the album, because the album is so emotional that the cabaret moment, you know, it comes up as a little bit of a twist of the knife in a way. So I had the idea of singing in French. I read perfectly French, but I mean, I don't practice enough French to speak. It's a language I really like because I love the poets, Baudelaire, Verlaine, Rimbaud, you know. And I always read them in French, and I wanted to do something like an exotic dancer called La Baphomet. And we didn't know how people reacted, because nowadays it's more meat and potatoes, you know. It's not like people are doing avant-garde stuff, or not most of the bands. And it just came out as a perfect ending to the album. And we played this song a couple of times live in Paris once, for instance, and people were crazy about it, you know, because it was, you know, on their own language. Yeah.
You mentioned Rimbaud and Baudelaire. Is that where the dark romantic music from Moonspell comes from literature, or? As well,
yeah. Yes. We have a deep connection with literature. I still think that books are the best way to spend your time. They are still the best escape from reality. I'm not the guy that goes on tour and is playing PlayStation or role-playing. I mean, nothing against people who do that, of course, but I still carry a lot of books around. On paper. I have some iBooks. When I go to travel far, I don't want to take all the weight. But I love books. I'm always reading, and I still think it's for me, besides music, it's the most supreme form of art, because you create your own world, you create your characters, you create your plot. So we have a deep connection with literature, and especially when it comes to the lyrics, we are heavily influenced, not only but a lot by the French romantic, dark, you know, school of poets, and I really love it, because for me it has everything to do with the Gothic and the romantic and the dark, and obviously I think that in metal and in Gothic music, books and literature have always been very, very important to the fans. Not only, you know, Tolkien or the Second World War or the pirate books. There's much more than that kind of literature. With Moonspell, we really like the classic books, the literature, not only the French, but also especially the European. We have made many songs that came to our minds because of book reading. Yeah.
Okay. What book are you reading now?
I'm reading two books. One is called Jockey, like a guy that rides a horse. It's from a Portuguese-Brazilian girl. It's a poetry book. It's modern poetry, more urban, but it's very good. And I'm reading a really heartbreaking book that's called The End of the Soviet Man, which is about the desegregation of the Soviet Union and how people feel about it. It's more of a non-fiction book with interviews, and they tell stories that I haven't known, and freedom always comes with a big price, and it's a very heartbreaking kind of account. And before that, I was reading a great book by a guy with a very weird name called Axor Lanes, because it's from Iceland. Okay. And he wrote this great book about Iceland and the myths and the sagas called Icelandic Bell. So I'm always reading. I have already, I have the same obsession about books that women, some women have about shoes. So I have always buying books. I have already a waiting list.
So you go to bed early at night?
No, I have a kid that doesn't like to sleep that much, but I read a lot on the plane, on tour, and every time when I'm having breakfast, that's my time of the morning before going out with my kid or going to practice with the band or going to work. And I always read a lot. And also in Portugal, I already wrote three poetry books. And now I have an anthology out in Portugal and in Brazil that is going very well. So we're going to Brazil, and I'm going to also not only to play with MOONSPELL at Rock in Rio and some other places, but to present the book as well. And I work with a label, and I have big plans because let's face it, it's like obviously you come here and you see bands that have 30, 40, 50 years of career, but when you come in the 90s, it's not like you are a band from the 70s or the 80s, so I think your longevity will be a little bit shorter. So I see also my work with books as an investment for the future. When I'm too old to rock, I can definitely, just have some background work and work in books, because I already did some translations into Portuguese as well. I Am Legend from Richard Mason, H.P. Lovecraft, some of my favorite writers. So I'm really a bookworm, as I say.
There's a lot of. I was interviewing Bruce Dickinson last week, and he's
I have his book, Chemical Wedding.
He's also a very big reader.
It's amazing.
Besides all the things he does, because
he's like a Renaissance man. Yeah, definitely.
Of course, and a lot of Lovecraft and things like that.
Yeah.
You mentioned Russia earlier, and this week I read about your aunt who started the Communist Party in Portugal.
Oh, she didn't start it, but she was a member. She was a member, yes, because we had a fascist dictatorship from 24 to 74. I was born in 74, already a child of the revolution. Let's call it this way. And the Communist Party in Portugal was definitely a very important force, not as a resilience, resistance force. So she was involved in it, to this despair of my grandma, because she was always in trouble, and she was very involved in politics. And nowadays politics are very different. Unfortunately, people just want to mind their own careers and make money. It's no different from Brussels or Lisbon or Paris or England. Politics are not the mediator with the people and just taking stuff from us. So she has given up a little bit on the political side, but there's still the Communist Party in Portugal, and they still between all the parties that are there, they're still one of the few that work and that have a program that thinks about the welfare of people. So you lean
towards that as well?
I mean, yeah. I think it's when we were watching the TV together, we were not watching just the American movies, we were watching also the parade with Brezhnev. That's a part of my growing up, but I would say I'm definitely more left-wing than right-wing or center, because I don't believe that, at least not in Europe, the liberal thing is not working as well. You see the case with Greece, you see the case with Portugal, and there's a lot of this alle gegen alle mentality, like people against people. The Portuguese hate the Greek because they haven't paid, and it's not really like this. The story is not very well told. The story, it's simple. The powerful and the rich, made a pact to be richer, and everybody's suffering. And our countries are being sold. And believe me, we had the Troika there, the International Monetary Fund. We paid lots of money, and don't believe the news that say that Portugal is better or Portugal is better. No, Portugal has high unemployment rates. 500,000 people have immigrated from Portugal, and there's more than 200,000 people without jobs. So I think this recipe is definitely not working.
Yeah. Okay. I already asked that. It's like you read my mind with my questions.
Mind reading.
Well, question about Portugal. I visited Portugal quite a few times now. But what strikes me the most is the great amounts of fish you guys eat.
Yeah. That's
Is
true.
that typical?
Very typical. I mean, when we grew up, we don't like to eat fish. We want to, the bad stuff, the American stuff, the junk food and the meat and whatever. But when you grow up to appreciate it. Portugal has 900 kilometers of coast. We have a lot of tradition on fishing. People can fish with bread in Portugal. Unfortunately, something that our government doesn't exploit because it could be our industry. We make excellent, canned tuna and sardines and everything. We really know how to caught fish. So it's a kind of a national obsession. Not only fish but also seafood, because there's so much and so much
There's a
variety.
lot
in
of
Portugal.
ways to prepare things.
Yeah,
I've eaten for cod for 2 weeks, and it was always prepared in a different
they
manner.
used to say that codfish, which is a fish that doesn't exist in Portuguese waters, because it comes from Norway. We are the number one importers of codfish. So, but we don't eat it fresh. We eat it dried and salt. And our grandmas used to say, and they are right, that there is 365 days in the year, and you can cook the cod 365 different ways. Yeah. I'm not the biggest chef. I cook. My wife hates to cook, so we gotta eat. So we cannot be at the restaurant at the same time. And even if I'm not the biggest or the most the best chef around, I can cook codfish at least 10 different ways. Yeah.
How do you call it in Portuguese?
Bacalhau.
Oh
Yeah.
okay. Now I remember.
Like in Spanish, bacalhau. Bacalhau. Yeah.
Well, here it's caballo. So
Yeah, bacalhau. Yeah.
The final question: if you would strand on a deserted island and you can pick anyone to come with you, which three artists or other persons, living or dead, would you take with you?
Well, besides the family, of course, I'll take my son, my wife.
Besides the family?
And my wife, she's a singer as well, so she's an artist.
Okay.
Yeah, she sings in a pop band. I don't know. Some of them are dead, really, because some of my favorite artists are dead now. The extinct has a lot to do with that as well. It was Peter Steele from Type A Negative,
Yes.
Quarthen from Bathory, and Ron and James Dio. I could take them to the desert island, even though probably they won't do anything. Right now I could take their legacy and their memories, because sometimes when I look around to living people, there's still a lot of people that I look up, but they are not mostly in rock or metal music. For instance, I love Nick Cave. I think he's one of the best artists ever. Leonard Cohen as well, and Peter Murphy from ex-Bauhaus. And now solo is one of my favorite singers. So probably I'll take these three guys, and for sure we'll get plenty of booze and drinking together. Yeah,
I'm playing cards.
And writing poetry, and being
yes.
man and boring. Yeah.